Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. This is part of our Microsoft 365 Knowledge series. And today we'll be talking about setting up OneDrive and really sharing best practices. We get a lot of questions here on the C.A.L team about setting up OneDrive, syncing issues. So we'll go over that today and really answer your questions and more. So I'm joined today by my lovely colleagues, Pat and Dominique. If you'd like to
Hello,
say
everyone.
hello.
Hello, how
Hi.
are you all?
Oh, and Dominique is brand new to the team. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Dominique.
Yes, so I am a relative new Firebird here on the C.A.L team. I started April 1st as the instructional designer, and I'm looking forward to working with a number of you, and I can't wait to meet everyone.
And Dominic, are you from the DMV area?
I am. I'm a native Washingtonian.
All
I
right.
grew up in DC. I only left to go to college, and then I came right back.
Right.
Love that. And she has visited Egypt, right,
I
Fatma?
have, yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Yeah.
I just went to Egypt in March, and then I went to Egypt in December of last year as well. So.
Suck up.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Dominique. So our agenda for today, we'll first talk about what is OneDrive for business. We'll talk about what are the benefits of using
Sorry.
OneDrive. Thank you, Dr. Cruz. And how to access UDC's OneDrive for Business. So we'll do a walkthrough of that, both on the web-based version as well as on your local computer, like your PC. We'll talk about status icons, syncing issues and how to address those, and also some OneDrive options and best practices to close. We will have time for Q&A. If there is something relevant to what we're talking about, you can go ahead and unmute or type in the chat box, but let's get started. So first, Pat will talk about what is OneDrive for business.
Thank you, David. Yes. So what is OneDrive for business? So OneDrive for business is a lot different than the personal OneDrive. OneDrive for business is the business version of the application. And one of the benefits, one of the biggest benefits is that you get more storage space. You know, with the personal application, you're only limited to 5 gigabytes. But here at UDC, we have a lot more storage space than that. So that's one of the biggest benefits. The other benefit is you have access to all the applications in the Office 365 suite. So you have access to that. So that's the two main differences. I do want to show you. I'm going to share my screen here. Share screen. I do want to show you how to tell the difference between. 1 second. Laptop. I want to show you how to tell the difference between the personal and the business application. So as you can see here, when you logged into the business application from the web, as you can see on my screen here, if I click my profile, you'll see my picture, and you'll see that I'm signed in to my UDC account here. So that's one way that you can tell. Another way is if you click this icon here, you'll see that I have all my applications right here. Okay. Another way is that if you look at the URL, you'll see that it says Live UDC, my SharePoint, then it has my UDC credentials down here. So those are 3 ways that you can tell that you are logged into the UDC version of OneDrive versus your own personal OneDrive.
Excellent. Thank you, Pat. Are there any questions about our personal OneDrive versus our UDC business OneDrive? Excellent. So I'll go ahead and go to our next slide. Pat will talk about some of the benefits of using OneDrive.
Yes. So going back into the files, I talked about storage earlier. So one of the benefits is that you have the ability, because you have so much space, it's great for backing up your important files. And, it's a great way to protect your files because they're not just on your computer, but they're also synced to the cloud. So you have some redundancy there in terms of backing up and protection. If something were to happen to your laptop and you're syncing correctly, those files will be on the cloud as well for your access. Speaking of access, you can access your files from any device. There's a OneDrive application for your smartphone, for your Mac computer, home computers, or any other computers that you may be using while you're here on campus or abroad. So it's great for accessing your content wherever you go. And then another great benefit is collaboration. We're on the C.A.L team. We use it for collaboration all the time. We actually put this presentation together by David sharing the presentation on OneDrive and then sharing it with us. And we all collaborated, gave our input, worked on the slide together. So it's great for collaboration and sharing things of that nature.
Excellent. Thank you, Pat. And definitely it helps with collaboration. Every time we do one of these webinars, I have a template. I just copy that template and then share it with the team. So it's really quick and easy to collaborate on a PowerPoint, just like this one, right? Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So I've been in UDC for 9 years. So before the OneDrive, I had like I've been having 6 computers so far for 9 years. So before they implement OneDrive, I used I lose all my content when my computer crashed. But since they put the OneDrive and I put all my stuff on OneDrive, no matter any computer I will use, I will have my own stuff. So I will never lose the content.
And have you ever had any issues with space, Fatma?
No, never have an issue with space also. And I put a lot of videos and, it's a 10 megabytes. So it's really take a lot of stuff. So this one benefit that I've seen in the past really 4 years, it made a big difference in my work.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about it is that, I don't even have to worry about space, because it's an enterprise. Because it's an enterprise application, I don't have to worry about space, Let someone else worry about the space, right?
Definitely. And let's look at the chat box. Yeah, lots of space, no lost files. It definitely has been super helpful for me because, working from home at this hybrid schedule, and I'm sure both everyone here on the call and your students, we're using different computers sometimes. So it's really easy to just have the same files for any computer that we're using, right? Thank you, Pat. So next I'll go over how to access OneDrive for Business. Let's think about OneDrive for Business as our UDC. OneDrive, I'll do a web version walkthrough. I'll talk about how to access it online, logging in with your Microsoft single sign-on, how we do for everything here, like My UDC, Blackboard. We'll talk about Microsoft Office apps, settings, changing your profile photo, and then just an overview of the interface. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And everyone here should now see that this is my live UDC, my SharePoint.com right here. So just like what Pat went over before, this is my personal OneDrive. Remember to sign in. So I'm signing into my personal or my UDC OneDrive. So I'll go ahead and go back there. So OneDrive, and I'll sign in, and I'll use my UDC account. And everyone can see this, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Fatma?
We can log in from my UDC, the quick launch, immediately go to Outlook. A lot of people on the call, they know that way.
Yeah, let me also show that. Thank you. So quick launch for my UDC is right here. And then you're able to access OneDrive from this page as well. Let's open this. I can do my Office 365 dashboard. There you go. But there is a difference between this Office dashboard and then your OneDrive dashboard. So for my Office dashboard, you can see all of my Office documents, but I want to go to my OneDrive which is like a hard drive right here, which is all entirely online. And if I scroll down, you'll see all of my C.A.L documents as well as all of my PowerPoints that I've made here over the year. Now, the first thing I want to go over is changing your profile photo. I know that's a question that we get a lot. So you want to go in the upper right corner right here. You'll see my current one. And you want to click on this where it says My Office Profile, if everyone can see that. Once I click on there, that will open up my Office profile page. Anything I make a change with here with my profile photo will be reflected in all of my Office suite or Office apps. So if I go right here, there's my photo. I want to change it. So I'll go ahead and click on this camera icon and upload new photo. And I'm going to upload this photo that I just made with a marble background. So once I do that, I can go ahead and apply. And now this will be synced on my Outlook and any Office applications. Wherever you see my face, it will have this updated photo. So if I go ahead and refresh, you'll even see in the upper right-hand corner, that has been updated as well. So I have it updated here and there. Right? So that's the first one, how to change your profile photo. Fatma?
And if you update it here, it will update in all UDC accounts, whether it's, I think it will update in everywhere, the application and the Word, anything you have it related to UDC, it will update it as well.
Yep. And you know, when we see our Outlook pictures, that'll update there as well, right? Okay, next part, I want to go over the side panel, which is that toolbar on the left. We have My Files. You'll see it looks like a hard drive right here with all of my files and folders. I have recent files that I've been working on, like today we worked on this OneDrive presentation, so that shows up first. Also shared files. So Pat shares a lot of files with me, so I'm able to see those right here under my shared files. There's also a recycle bin, so anything that I delete right here, I can also recover. And then you'll see some quick access folders and groups. I'm in the Center for the Advancement of Learning. There's also an Apple Ambassador team, Center for Digital Access and Learning, different folders and groups right here on the side. Last but not least, if you go to the upper left corner, click on this grid icon, you'll see all the apps or the Microsoft Office suite. All of these apps are here. Next month, Dr. Carson on the call will lead one on Planner. You can find that right there. If you want to see more, click on All Apps, and that will show all different kinds of Microsoft apps that you can use. There are really a limitless amount right here. So I'll go back, and then you can also see the documents here on the left. So to access that, just click on that little grid icon in the upper left corner. Right. Any questions I can answer about this? Excellent. So I'll go ahead and hand the mic off to Dominique, and she will go over the computer version of OneDrive.
Thanks, David. So yes, so I'm going to talk about these features, and then I'm also going to share my screen. So the great thing about having OneDrive for Business is that you can use the web version, but you can also have a localized version on your UDC computer. So the first thing I'm going to kind of talk about is the downloading, or it's already installed on your UDC computer. So once you get your UDC computer or you have access to it, it's going to be located in your taskbar. It is an icon that's a cloud. It's usually located next to the date and time or the right side of the date and time. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so that you guys can see exactly what I'm referring to. So I'm going to share. And so everyone can see my screen. Let me just minimize everything. When you log into your UDC account or your computer, you're going to notice that right here, there's an arrow. If you select that in your taskbar, here is the OneDrive that's installed automatically on your system. So I would just then click this, just similar to what David did in the web version. You can see that all of my files that I have here are synced, and it shows the folder that this file is located in. Likewise, there is a settings feature. So you can adjust all of the settings on your localized computer for your OneDrive. When you click on settings, you can set up like how you want it to work. what account it's using. You can verify that it's using your UDC account and not your personal account. You can set up backups so that you can make sure that all of your files are maintained and able to be restored if, say, for whatever reason, Microsoft had an issue, right? It wouldn't be on us, because if you back up your items, then they have to make sure that they're there instead of us making sure they're there. You can make sure that you're not bogging down your own network if you're personally at home. And then you can tie in all of this information to your Office 365 platform. And then this just gives you what version you're running and the information related to the actual application on your computer. So I'm going to click OK there. I'm going to take you back into the settings area of, and I'm going to minimize this so I don't see myself, and move it over here. You also have the feature and the ability to sync and pause your syncing. So what does that mean? So once you have all of your files and information saved on your OneDrive, you can then go in and decide how often you want your files to update. And it's always best practice that when you're working on something, when you're finished, you then sync to make sure that it has the latest and greatest updated version of the item that you're working on. So you can select here, and it can give you ability to either pause or resync. So currently mine is synced, but if I wanted to pause the syncing, I could select 2 hours, 8 hours, or 24 hours. I also have the ability to manage my storage, get help directly from Microsoft, and or send them feedback for issues that I'm experiencing. Likewise, with the way that David mentioned on the web version, you have the ability to open your folder here to see your items. And then you also have the ability to view your online web version and go into your recycling bin, i.e. the deleted area, to make sure that if you accidentally deleted something, you can restore that back into the folder. So with that, I am going to stop sharing and turn it back over to David.
Thank you, Dominique. That was great. So now Pat will go over some of the status icons that you'll see with OneDrive.
Yes, thank you, David. So status icons, very important to using OneDrive, effectively. The first icon, if you ever see this gray icon here, that is an indication that you are not signed in. You always want to make sure that you have that blue icon that you see up top there first. And if you see that, that means you're not signed in. The next icon is it with the red X is an indication that a file or folder is not syncing. And when you click on that, it should give you some instructions on how to resolve that. Next icon with the circle is an indication that some files are in the process of syncing. So these are some things that you should look out for when you're signed into OneDrive. When you log into your computer, you should definitely look at some of those icons to make sure that you are properly signed in and that OneDrive is functioning properly. Next slide, David. All right, so I'm going to, in a minute, I'm going to share my screen. Before I do that, I want to go with some of these icons here. These are some of the typical icons that you'll see when you're in your folder. The first one is with the circle, with the check mark. It's an indication that your files are available online and on your computer. The second one with the white check mark is the indication that that file is available on your computer and will take up space. The next one is the indication that file is available online only. And in order to access it, you have to click on it and then it would download thereafter. And the next icon with the cloud and the image of a person is the indication that that is a shared file. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. Let's go here. Okay. And Dominique pointed out that in order to access OneDrive, you can click this check mark here. Can you guys see that? You probably can't see that.
No, we just see the window.
Okay, hang on one second.
Yeah.
Let me
Maybe if you share the desktop.
Yes, thank you, David.
Mhm.
Let's go here. All right.
Perfect.
So Dominique pointed out to access OneDrive, you click this icon here. But for me, I always like to click on it, left mouse click and just hold it down to drag that right here. That way, when I log onto my computer, I can instantly see what the status is. And if I hover over it, you'll see that it says up to date. So I know that all my files are good to go. They're up to date. There's no issues with OneDrive. It's working properly. Another way to know that you're logged into your UDC account, if you look over here where it says OneDrive, it says University of District of Columbia. If you were signed into your personal one, this one would probably say OneDrive Personal. But I want to be on this one, so I'm going to click on my UDC account. So let me just go back to that test folder. Let's see. So going back to some of the icons, as you can see, I have two files here. This file, it has the cloud, which is an indication that anybody want to come off mute to tell me what this is an indication of?
Yeah, you can access it from the cloud.
Absolutely.
But you have to have a Wi-Fi.
Right, you have to have Wi-Fi. Now, if I'm on Wi-Fi and I were to click on this file, it's going to open up, and now the status is going to change. So now it says available on this device, and it's available on the cloud. This file here is an indication that this file is always on my computer. If I want to change this back to have it available both places, I would just right click and select this, keep on device, and now it switches back to available on this device, but it's also available online as well. If I wanted to free up some space, I can right click again and hit free up space, and now it's available online only. Any questions about that?
I just want to add my experience in this. This
Mhm.
specific tool helps when we don't have a Wi-Fi. I will be still able to access the file. So when I go to Starbucks and I know that I want to shut down my Outlook, I will just download this. I will use this feature to have the document on my computer, and I will be able to edit and whatever I want to do. And then once I have the Wi-Fi, it will really sync with the cloud.
Absolutely, absolutely, Fabio. Any other questions or comments, David or Dominique?
No, I mean, this is super great and super clear, right? So as long as you know what these icons mean, but if you don't, like Pat showed you, if you hover over the icon, it will also tell you what that means.
And we're going to include a link to some other icons that you may come across. We'll include a link to that as well from the Microsoft website.
Yeah. Thank you, Pat.
Welcome.
So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And in this section, I want to cover some syncing issues that happen sometimes with OneDrive. So I'll go over the difference between syncing on your personal versus your UDC computer and making sure that your UDC account is connected. I'll talk about restarting OneDrive, which usually fixes most issues. Check that the account is connected, select different folders to sync, and also resolve conflicts. Now, to make this easier, I did record some screen grabs of this so you can see, and then we can also replay that if you have any questions. But as you see in this first screenshot, this is on my computer and it's my personal OneDrive. Now, I don't try to mix my C.A.L documents with my personal documents. I like to keep those separate. And as you can see here, it says personal right there. So let's go over how to connect your UDC account, let's say on your personal computer. So right now I'm at home, I'm using my personal computer, and I'll show you how I connected my UDC OneDrive to my personal computer and have everything sync. Now I'm going to walk through how to sync your UDC account. So when I go to my File Explorer, you'll see right here I have my personal OneDrive, but I want to put my UDC OneDrive on my computer. So if I go to the lower right and click on this icon, and let's go to the gear icon right here and then click on settings. Once I click on settings, I want to add my UDC account. So I'll go to add an account right here. And that will open up this pop-up screen. Let's put our UDC email and login. And that will do the Microsoft single sign-on. Now, once that is configured, you'll see right here on the left side, I have my personal OneDrive and now my UDC OneDrive, which includes all of my files. So in that video, I walked through how to connect your UDC OneDrive account to your personal computer. Remember, if you are using a UDC issued computer, it's already on there. You don't have to do this process. But like I'm at home right now, I have my personal computer, and then I just connected my UDC account to my computer. Any questions or repeats for this?
I have just one suggestion.
Yeah.
When I use my personal computer, I usually use the web version of the OneDrive. I found sometimes when I put the two OneDrive on the computer, it kind of conflicts. Sometimes it really doesn't work well. So my suggestion just if you're using your personal computer, just to access the web version of OneDrive for UDC. And just
That's a good tip. You know, before I added this account, 100% of the time, really, I always use the web-based version of UDC OneDrive. I just find it easier. I can do it on any computer. I don't have to connect the account. But if you do want to connect it, just a quick run through of what that looks like, right? But that's a good tip, Fatma. I'm also the same way. Yeah.
And also we have a lot of computer that it's not updated with Windows 11 or Windows 10. So the OneDrive setup is differently. So if you're having issues with OneDrive now with your UDC computer, I would suggest to go to the IT to update your computer, because the setting of OneDrive before Windows 11 is different than before.
Yeah. And Terry, you have a question?
Yes. Thank you. Just about what Fatma was saying. So if I'm using a personal computer, I don't actually have to download the UDC OneDrive. I can just go to and use it in the cloud, as it were.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just like I walked through earlier using the web-based version, you don't have to download anything for your computer. You can just access that all online.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. So next I'll go over how to quit and restart OneDrive. So here's a simple screenshot of how to do this. You're basically just quitting OneDrive, that program, just like you would quit Outlook or Word, and then just reopening it. And I find that 90% of the time, this really solves any issues I have with syncing or any issues with my personal OneDrive. So if you look at number 1, the first arrow, I will right click on my OneDrive icon in my taskbar, my toolbar right there. Then number 2, just click on quit OneDrive and then just reopen it again, right? So that's a way that you can quickly restart your OneDrive. Next, let's talk about selecting folders to sync. Now, as you can see here, automatically it will sync all my folders into my UDC OneDrive account. So this is on my UDC computer, everything just automatically syncs. But if you don't want that to happen, you can just deselect some of these folders. So let's go over how to do this from your computer, how to select which folders to sync with your OneDrive account. Now I'm going to walk you through on how to select which folders to sync. So if I go to the lower right corner, I have my UDC OneDrive right here. Let's click on that. Go to the upper right corner and click on settings. Once I click on settings, you'll see right here, click on the account tab, and then you can choose which folders to sync. So if I click here, you'll see that I have all my folders set to sync. If I don't want to include, let's say, pictures or recordings, I can just unclick that and press OK. So that's how you find it. Just go to account and then select which folders to sync with your UDC OneDrive account. Any questions so far?
But it's by default, it will sync everything. Correct, David?
Yep, that's correct. So you can see like when I just open this, everything is already selected. Just by default, it's syncing automatically. Right? Last one is resolving conflicts. So I find this happens more with my personal OneDrive, not my UDC OneDrive. But if you do see some of these issues, you'll see a big red X at the very top. So, when you're left clicking on that icon in the lower right toolbar, you'll see this sync issue in OneDrive. Once I click on that, you'll see number 2, it'll show any syncing issues that are happening. So let's say, for example, I'm changing a document, but I forget to save, or I'm not syncing it correctly. Once I click on resolve, I find that really solves the issue. So sometimes this happens, you'll see that big red X, just click on that, it'll resolve that issue for you, right?
And you know that there's an issue with the, just taking a look at the OneDrive icon that I went over earlier. It'll have that X right in there, which will tell you that, hey, there's an issue with syncing. Once you click on that, it'll take you to this screen.
Yep. And if it says up to date, everything's syncing correctly, you're golden, you're good to go. And now Dominique will conclude with our OneDrive options. Thank you, Dominique.
Sure. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sharing and version history. So I'm going to go ahead again and share my screen. And let me just open up my OneDrive folder so you can see it. Okay, so we are looking directly in my OneDrive folder that is on my UDC laptop. One of the great things about OneDrive is that it keeps a version history. So I created this particular document, and let's say myself and my colleague Julian King are working on this particular document. Let's say I save something, but Julian and I are collaborating and working real time in the file, and he forgets to save something. My saving will then kind of override, but I can go into the version history and see the last time it was updated or saved. Or, for example, if I accidentally delete something from the file that was not meant to be deleted, we can go back in and say open, and then that will restore that version of the file so that then we can either save it and or make the change that needs to be changed. Another great feature, like Pat mentioned, is the sharing feature of OneDrive. So I can select share here and type in anyone externally or internally to UDC. I can also specify whether or not the person is already in UDC, whether the person has existing access or specific people. The great other feature about that is that if I don't want them to be able to download the document, I can select block download so that they can just view it as a read-only in their web version. I can also set a password if it needs to be password protected, and I can set an expiration date. So that's great in cases of you want to share this file with students, but you don't want them to have access to the file after they've completed the course. And so you set the expiration date to their last day in the course. So those are really great features. I also, as a best practice, create folders for everything. And one of the things that I noticed when I originally started to create my folder structure was that spacing and or different characters need to be recognized when you're creating your folders so that you don't get the error in the syncing process and or the big red X on top of your OneDrive because something is not catered to the way that they like it. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it back over to David.
Thank you very much, Dominique. That was great. So to conclude and take some questions, I just want to kind of summarize some best practices from this webinar. And Pat, Dominique, and I will kind of alternate this. I'll start. So really use OneDrive as a USB drive replacement. Back in the old days, I used to always have a USB drive on my keychain, right, with my car keys, and I never would lose it. So I always had to bring that with me, though, and I had to put it in a computer and another computer. Now I haven't used a USB drive, I don't know, in years, right, since OneDrive. And it's really saved me a lot of time and headache. And also the version history has really saved me, many times, right? So I changed something or someone else changed something or deleted a document that's happened before. So now I can go to the version history and then restore that previous version of the document. And I can't do that with a USB, right? And Pat, if you'd like to go next and just unmute.
Thank you, David. Definitely, you definitely want to keep your folder and file names short and direct. And this is something that I definitely do because, you know, that OneDrive would definitely fill up. That folder would definitely fill up quickly as time go on and as time goes on. And you'll notice that you may have some files in folders, you know, you may have some files that are not in folders. So it can get very congested very quickly. So definitely keep your names short, simple, and definitely use folders when you're in OneDrive, just so you stay organized.
And just something to add to what Pat was saying is that anytime I have a presentation, I also add the date to it. So you can even see in my PowerPoint in the upper left corner, this is called OneDrive for 26 or for April 26. So I've done so many PowerPoints this whole year, but I can quickly search by date as well, like 1023 webinar and groups. So that's a easy way that I can also search and find a file just by putting the date right there. Right. Dominique, if you'd like to go next.
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned before, keeping all of your files in a folder structure to share with people is very helpful, right? If I decide I'd like to share my C.A.L folder with Pat and David, they can see all the items within that folder without me sharing individually each file and then maybe them, you know, misplacing the link or the link breaking. So having that feature really limits the ability to error out or not be able to access the files. They also are then able to save that folder directly to their own OneDrive and sync that as well.
Excellent. Another one is when sharing links, really limit your edit access to specific individuals or groups. If you're giving the edit access link, let's say I have an Excel spreadsheet and I'm letting anyone edit that, even outside parties, students, then they can really, you know, damage that file. So if you do want to give access to another outside party or a student, just do that view only access for them instead of the editing access for that. Right?
Yep, and you definitely want to create some sort of schedule for reviewing and cleaning up your OneDrive. As I mentioned earlier, you know, as time goes on, it will get congested. You will have all types of files in there. So typically what I do is I'll try to go through maybe at the end of the week, just to clean up any type of, cause I do a lot of screenshots and I'll throw them in there just to share it. But, you know, after a day or two, I don't need those screenshots anymore. And if I don't remember, they'll just stay in there and my OneDrive will get full. And before you know it, I have all types of files in there. So try to create like a regular schedule for yourself, just to go in, clean up your files, clean up your folders, just to make sure that you stay organized and neat as can be.
Fatma.
Yeah, I have one tip also. Been using it. I created a shortcut for my drive on my desktop. So rather than going and open the Explorer, I will just, sometimes I'm not getting organized, I will just dump all the document folders, anything I want on this shortcut on the desktop. So I want to make sure all what I add, it's synced to the cloud so I can access it from anywhere. So the shortcut is really easy way to do. I don't know if anyone wants to know how to do it. I can demonstrate it. If Pat, David can do it, please go ahead.
You want to demo that, Pat? Or maybe
I
Fatma?
can.
Yeah, Fatma, that'd be perfect.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I'll go ahead and make a co-host, Fatma, so you can go ahead and share. Thank you.
All right. So my desktop is a mess. I apologize for that.
Case in point. Case in
Yeah,
point.
case in point, right? You should do some spring cleaning.
So this is my shortcut for my
Yep.
OneDrive. As you see it,
Yep.
I'm gonna delete this for now, so I can create a new one, and I will go on the desktop and I right click, and I will click on new, and I will click on shortcut, and I will go to browse, and I will go to my OneDrive for University of District of Columbia. And I will click OK. And it will tell me what you want to name it. So I'm just going to call it OneDrive UDC. And click OneDrive UDC. Okay, just a minute.
Okay.
It might be because I already have it, but just give me a second.
Yeah, I think if you go to next, then you could rename it
next.
after that.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah, so let's do that again.
No, I think because I already created one, but I will create for this one. It's the same. Yeah. So I'm just gonna call this OneDrive because I think I have one already. One. And here we go. I will have it here and it will open exactly like instead of going to this folder and having all this shown to you. So if you are in a rush, like usually mine, you just put any stuff in here and like this, and it will just move it to the OneDrive. Place it.
That's a great tip.
Yep.
Thank you, Fatma. I do want to go over how to edit the sharing settings, just to go over that. So if you look here on my desktop, I have this HighFlex training graduates spreadsheet, right? And this is something that I edit based on whoever finishes training. Now, I don't want to give full access to this to anyone, right? So I want to change the sharing settings. So if I go here, you'll see the file, HighFlex Training Graduates Live. I'll right click that and then go to share, just like what Dominique was going over earlier. And if I go here, copy, you'll see it says anyone with the link can edit. I don't want that to happen because then people will just add their name. So if I click on this, uncheck the allow editing option and then click on apply. And you'll see right now it says anyone with the link can view. I can copy that. I can put it in the chat box right now, by the way. So anyone here will be able to view this, but not edit it, right? So that's a way that I change the sharing settings. It's a small little detail, but it's an important one because you don't want anyone to be able to edit a form just like that one, right? And let's open up to Q&A. Any other questions we can answer? Please feel free to ask.
Or any issues you had it with OneDrive, we would love to know it. Even if we don't know how to fix it now, we will contact you to figure out how to solve it.
Any final thoughts from the group? Pat, Dominique, Fatma?
Really love using OneDrive.
Yeah.
Like David has said, it's made everything easier to save and make sure I have backed up. I was using a terabyte external hard drive for many, many years until I started to use my OneDrive, and I haven't looked back since. So I encourage everyone, if you have not been using OneDrive, to do so.
Yep, and definitely check the status when you're using OneDrive. Every time you log into your computer, always check the status just to make sure that your documents are syncing properly, because you don't want to get in a situation where maybe you got logged out. Maybe OneDrive logged you out for some crazy reason, and you put documents in that folder, but those documents won't sync to the cloud. Something happens to your laptop. You go on the cloud looking for it, you see that it's not there. So always, try to get in the habit of checking the status of the OneDrive icon.
Yeah, that's a good point. When we work with our HighFlex professors, this is one of the points that we bring up, is if you're editing a document at home, just make sure it's syncing correctly on OneDrive. So then when you open it on the computer in one of our HighFlex rooms, it's opening up correctly, and that's that updated version that you're using, right? Cynthia, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I know we touched upon the status symbols, and I have status symbols that says available on device. but I want to make it where it's only available online. And you showed us how to do the opposite, but not, you showed us how to make things available only on the device, but I want to do the opposite. I want to make everything only available online.
So she wants to free up space. So what you can do, Cynthia, is if you right click on your file currently that has the green check,
Yes.
if you select free up space, then it will turn into a blue icon that will then only be available online and no longer available on your localized computer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I also want to mention, if you your OneDrive is not working well, I really encourage you to check the computer, UDC computer. If you have an older computer, you may want to check with IT to update your Windows, because a lot of the configuration, it's really, we don't have to do anything on our part as a staff or administrator or faculty. It should be within the windows that they provide. So I encourage you to check with IT help desk if you need a Windows upgrade.
Excellent. Great question there. Before we conclude, I do want to include some of our resources in the chat box, and I'll just briefly go over these. If you do have any questions for myself or the team, we have our CAL help desk at udc.edu email. Feel free to email us anytime. You can also sign up for our office hours or professional development. Clicking on that second link, that will take you to a page where you can choose a time and date of your choosing to meet with us for office hours. We have all of our recorded webinars on our YouTube channel, our CAL YouTube channel. You'll find those. I will also upload this for extra reference. We have our CAL website with a bunch of different resources there. If you click on faculty resources, you'll find those. And then we have another session this week, our Apple Brown Bag session, Managed Apple ID Q&A. That is with Brandon Russell, our Director of Enterprise Infrastructure. That is this Thursday, the 28th from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. And you can go ahead and sign up for that and register by clicking on that link right there. Any final thoughts or questions before we say goodbye? Cool. This was an excellent webinar. We really thank you for your time. We also learned as a team, as we were exploring OneDrive, some of the really cool features and also some issues that we can go ahead and rectify for anyone here. So we hope to hear from you very shortly. And also, we have our webinar on Thursday. So we hope you can make that as well. So thank you again for joining us. And I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank
Goodbye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Thanks very much.
Thank you.